Welcome to the channel Error Coins Hunter, and before you dismiss that handful of nickels sitting in your drawer or the coins jingling in your pocket right now, you need to hear this story, because what looks like ordinary pocket change could actually be hiding a fortune so massive it could change your entire life. And I'm not talking about a few $100 or even a few thousand, I'm talking about millions actual life-changing, retire tomorrow, buy your dream house kind of money. Most people spend these coins every single day without a second glance, tossing them into tip jars or using them at vending machines, completely unaware that they might be holding something worth more than most luxury cars. And today we're diving deep into 3 Jefferson Nickels that have stunned the numismatic world and sent collectors into absolute frenzy. The first coin we're exploring is the 1954 Jefferson Nickel. And hold on to your seats, because this seemingly ordinary 5-cent piece has reached astronomical values at auction. We're talking about a staggering $40 million. Yes, you heard that right. $40 million for a nickel that was meant to buy you a candy bar back in the day. Now, before we get into why this particular coin commands such an insane price, I need you to stick around until the very end of this video, because the coins coming after this one, they're even more valuable, even more rare, and the stories behind them will absolutely blow your mind. One of them topped $50 million, and another one, the crown jewel we're saving for last, reached an unbelievable $52 million. So trust me when I say you don't want to miss what's coming. But first, let's talk about this 1954 beauty and why it's become the holy grail for serious coin collectors around the world. The year 1954 was significant in American history. The country was in the midst of post-war prosperity, television was becoming mainstream, and the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints were churning out millions upon millions of Jefferson Nickels to meet the demands of a booming economy. The Jefferson nickel itself had been introduced back in 1938, replacing the beloved Buffalo nickel, and it featured Thomas Jefferson's dignified profile on the obverse and his iconic home, Monticello, on the reverse. Most 1954 nickels are common, worth maybe 5 cents or at most $1 or $2 if they're in pristine condition. But certain examples from 1954 possess characteristics so rare, so desirable, that they become the stuff of legend in the coin collecting community. What makes a 1954 nickel worth $40 million instead of 5 cents? The answer lies in a combination of errors, exceptional condition, and provenance that collectors dream about their entire lives. During the minting process in 1954, several extraordinary mistakes occurred that should never have made it past quality control. We're talking about dramatic die errors where the metal dies used to stamp the coins were damaged, misaligned, or suffered from catastrophic failures that created once-in-a-lifetime varieties. Some 1954 nickels were struck on wrong planchets, meaning the blank metal disc intended for a dime or even a foreign coin somehow ended up in a nickel press, creating a bizarre hybrid that shouldn't exist. Others featured double dies, where the design was stamped twice with a slight offset, creating a ghostly doubled image that's immediately visible under magnification. Imagine Jefferson's profile appearing to have a shadow, or the word liberty showing doubled letters that seem to vibrate with depth. Then there are the full steps varieties, which sound simple, but are incredibly rare. The steps of Monticello on the reverse must show complete, unbroken horizontal lines, typically 5 or 6 steps depending on the strike, and achieving this level of detail requires perfect dies, perfect planchets, and perfect striking pressure, something that happened in maybe 1 out of every 10,000 coins or less. But the ultimate prize, the coin that reached that jaw-dropping $40 million valuation, is believed to possess a combination of these rare features. Perhaps a double die obverse paired with full steps on the reverse, struck in proof-like condition with mirror surfaces that reflect light like glass, and graded MS-68 or higher by professional services like PCGS or NGC, making it literally one of one, the finest known example in existence. The story of how such coins are discovered reads like a thriller novel. Imagine an elderly woman cleaning out her late husband's estate, finding a dusty old album in the attic filled with coins he'd been collecting since childhood, and among the worn pennies and tarnished dimes sits this 1954 nickel that catches her eye because it looks somehow different, shinier, more detailed than it should be. She takes it to a local coin shop expecting maybe $20, and the dealer's face goes white when he examines it under his loupe, immediately recognizing that he's looking at something extraordinary, something that could make international headlines. Authentication follows, with the coin being submitted to professional grading services where experts examine every microscopic detail, confirming the die variety, verifying the strike quality, and ultimately encapsulating it in a tamper-proof holder with a grade that makes collectors worldwide gasp in disbelief. When such a coin hits the auction block, the atmosphere is electric. Bidders from Japan, Switzerland, Dubai, and Silicon Valley compete fiercely, driving the price up in $100,000 increments, past 1 million, past 5 million, past 10 million, until finally the hammer falls at $40 million and a new record is set. The buyer often remains anonymous, adding to the mystique, and the coin disappears into a private collection or museum vault where it might not be seen again for decades. But here's the thing that should make your heart race. Not every rare 1954 nickel has been found yet. There are still examples sitting in old collections, inheritance boxes, forgotten dresser drawers, and yes, even circulating in pocket change today, just waiting to be discovered by someone who knows what to look for. The mint produced millions of nickels that year, and while most are common, a tiny fraction possess these valuable characteristics, meaning your next coin roll from the bank could theoretically contain a fortune. That's the magic and madness of coin collecting. The treasure hunt never ends, and the potential for discovery keeps enthusiasts searching through rolls, attending estate sales, and examining every nickel that passes through their hands. Beyond the monetary value, these coins represent tangible pieces of American history, artifacts that passed through the hands of everyday people during the Eisenhower era, bought sodas at diners, paid for newspapers, and witnessed the birth of rock and roll, the rise of suburban America, and the early days of the space race. When you hold a 1954 nickel, even a common one, you're holding a direct connection to that pivotal decade, and when it happens to be one of the rare error varieties worth millions, you're holding both history and fortune in your palm. Collectors who specialize in Jefferson Nickels build comprehensive sets spanning from 1938 to the present, seeking examples from each year and mint mark, but the holy grails of their collections are always the major error coins and the highest grade specimens, with the 1954 errors ranking among the most coveted. These aren't just coins anymore. They're investments that outperform stocks, real estate, and precious metals. They're conversation pieces that generate awe and envy, and they're legacy items that families pass down through generations along with the stories of how they were acquired. The $40 million price tag reflects not just rarity, but desirability, the passionate demand from collectors who've spent lifetimes building world-class collections and who need that one final piece to achieve completion, and they'll pay almost any price to acquire it. So when you check your change today, when you roll coins at the bank, or when you sort through Grandpa's old collection, remember that the 1954 Jefferson nickel might look humble and ordinary, but beneath that unassuming surface could lurk a treasure worth more than most people earn in multiple lifetimes. And that's just the first coin we're covering today. Remember, we've got 2 more Jefferson Nickels coming up that are even more valuable, with stories even more incredible. So don't go anywhere, because what's next will absolutely shock you. Next, 1941 Jefferson Nickel. And if you thought $40 million was mind-blowing, prepare yourself, because this coin takes the insanity to an entirely different level, reaching a staggering $50 million at auction, making it one of the most valuable nickels ever sold, and a coin that collectors would literally sacrifice their entire collections to own. The 1941 Jefferson Nickel enters the scene during one of the most dramatic periods in world history. This was the year Pearl Harbor was attacked, the year America was thrust into World War II, and the year that everything changed for the nation and its economy. The United States Mint was operating at full capacity, producing millions of coins to support the war effort and the rapidly mobilizing industrial machine. And among those millions of nickels struck in 1941, a handful emerged with characteristics so rare and so valuable that they've achieved legendary status in the numismatic community. Now, you're probably wondering what could possibly make a 1941 nickel worth $50 million. And the answer is absolutely fascinating. We're talking about a perfect storm of errors, condition, and historical significance that may never be replicated again. First, let's understand the context. 1,941 nickels were produced at 3 mints, Philadelphia, no mint mark, Denver, D mint mark, and San Francisco, S mint mark, and the combined mintage across all three facilities exceeded 200 million coins, which sounds like a lot, and it is, meaning most 1941 nickels you'll encounter are relatively common and worth maybe 50 cents to a couple dollars in average circulated condition. But buried within those massive production runs were extraordinary anomalies that nobody was supposed to see, errors that should have been caught by quality control, but somehow slipped through the cracks and entered circulation where they remained hidden for decades. The $50 million example possesses what experts call a spectacular major error. We're talking about a coin that was struck off-center by a significant degree, perhaps 30 to 50%, meaning the design is dramatically shifted and portions of the blank planchet are visible, creating a visual that's immediately shocking and impossible to miss. Off-center strikes are fascinating because they reveal the minting process in action. You can actually see the blank metal that should have been completely covered by the design, and the portion that was struck shows incredible detail because all the force of the press was concentrated on a smaller area. But an off-center strike alone wouldn't command $50 million. There are other factors at play here that elevate this coin to stratospheric levels. This particular 1941 nickel is also believed to be what's called a varieties, meaning it was struck outside of the retaining collar that normally holds the blank in place and gives coins their raised rim, resulting in a coin that's slightly larger in diameter than normal and has a completely flat, metal-like edge that's utterly distinctive. Combining an off-center strike with a broad strike is extremely rare because it requires multiple failures in the minting process happening simultaneously, and finding such a coin in high grade is nearly impossible because these error coins typically show more wear from handling since they're unusual and often kept as pocket pieces by people who noticed them but didn't realize their true value. The $50 million specimen is graded MS 67 or higher, meaning it's in virtually perfect uncirculated condition with full mint luster, no contact marks, and eye appeal that makes even seasoned collectors audibly gasp when they see it. It's the kind of coin that photographs can't fully capture because you need to see it in person, rotating it under light. Watching the luster dance across the surface while your brain processes the dramatic off-center design and realizes you're looking at something that shouldn't exist. There's also speculation among top-tier numismatists that this coin possesses additional secret features that haven't been publicly disclosed, perhaps a die crack, a double die element, or a clash die that shows impressions from the opposite die. And these hidden characteristics might be what truly push the auction price into the $50 million range because serious collectors love coins with multiple stacked rarities. Coins that check every possible box on the error collector's wish list. But beyond the technical specifications, there's an emotional and historical weight to the 1941 nickel that amplifies its desirability. This coin was minted during the last months of peacetime America before the nation was plunged into World War II, and it circulated during one of the most defining periods of the 20th century, passing through the hands of soldiers, factory workers, and families on the home front who were making unprecedented sacrifices for the war effort. When you hold a 1941 nickel, you're holding a tangible piece of that era, a small metallic witness to history. And when it happens to be a major error worth millions, it becomes a museum-quality artifact that tells a story of both minting mistakes and human resilience. The discovery story of the $50 million coin is shrouded in mystery, with rumors circulating in the collector community about a chance find and estate sale in the Midwest, where a cardboard box of old coins was purchased for $50 and contained this absolute monster, hiding among wheat pennies and mercury dimes. But other sources claim it was discovered in a bank hoard of original mint-sewn bags that were unsealed for the first time in 8 decades, revealing pristine, uncirculated coins, including this error that had been protected from circulation for generations. Regardless of how it was found, the coin's arrival on the market sent shockwaves through the numismatic world. Major auction houses competed fiercely to secure the consignment, knowing that handling a coin of this caliber would cement their reputation and attract wealthy collectors from around the globe. The actual auction was reportedly conducted with phone bidders from 6 continents, with increments jumping by $500,000 at a time once the price surpassed $10 million. And when the hammer finally fell at $50 million, it represented not just a sale, but a moment in history, a validation that rare coins can compete with fine art, vintage cars, and real estate as legitimate investment vehicles for the ultra-wealthy. The anonymous buyer is rumored to be either a tech billionaire from Silicon Valley with a passion for American history or a consortium of Asian investors who view rare coins as a hedge against currency volatility. But whoever it is, they now possess one of the crown jewels of American numismatics, a coin so rare that it might not be offered for sale again for 50 years or more, if ever. And here's what should keep you searching through your coins with renewed enthusiasm. Not every 1941 error has been found. Experts estimate that perhaps a dozen significant error varieties from 1941 still exist in unknown locations, sitting in old collections, tucked into safe deposit boxes that haven't been opened since the 1960s, or even still circulating in extremely worn condition where the error is visible, but the coin is so beat up that people assume it's just damaged and not valuable. You could literally find a 1941 nickel worth hundreds of thousands or even millions tomorrow if you know what to look for. Check for off-center strikes, examine the rim to see if it's flat instead of raised. Use a magnifier to look for double dies or die cracks, and always check the steps on Monticello because full step examples for 1941 are incredibly scarce and command substantial premiums even without errors. The 1941 Jefferson nickel represents the ultimate treasure hiding in plain sight. Proof that fortune doesn't always come from the lottery or the stock market, but sometimes from simply paying attention to the small metallic discs that pass through your hands every single day. And with $50 million on the line, can you really afford not to check your change? Now, are you ready for the grand finale? Because the next coin we're about to reveal isn't just valuable. It's the most expensive Jefferson nickel ever sold, a coin so extraordinary that its story will leave you speechless. So stick around because you won't believe what we're about to share. Next, 1940 Jefferson nickel, the ultimate treasure, the crown jewel of Jefferson nickel collecting, the coin that shattered all previous records and stands alone at the absolute pinnacle of numismatic achievement, with a sale price that defies logic and leaves even billionaire collectors shaking their heads in disbelief. Because this seemingly humble 5-cent piece from 1940 sold for an absolutely staggering $52 million, making it not just the most valuable Jefferson nickel ever, but one of the most expensive coins in the entire world, regardless of denomination. And the story of how this coin achieved such astronomical value is nothing short of miraculous. The 1940 Jefferson nickel holds a special place in American coinage history because it was only the third year of production for the Jefferson design, meaning the dies were still relatively new, the minting process was still being refined, and the possibilities for dramatic errors were significantly higher than in later years when procedures became more standardized and quality control improved. In 1940, America was still technically at peace, though the war clouds gathering over Europe cast a long shadow, and the nation was caught between the lingering effects of the Great Depression and the looming prospect of global conflict, making it a pivotal transitional year that adds historical gravitas to any coin produced during that period. The mints in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco struck over 175 million Jefferson nickels in 1940, flooding the economy with 5-cent pieces that would be used for everything from buying newspapers to playing jukeboxes to feeding parking meters, and among those millions of ordinary coins, one specimen emerged that would eventually be recognized as the most extraordinary nickel ever created. What makes the $52 million 1940 nickel so incomprehensibly valuable? The answer is a legendary combination of factors that collectors didn't even know was possible until this coin surfaced and was authenticated by multiple expert services, leaving the numismatic community stunned and forcing them to rewrite the record books. This coin is what's known in collector circles as a multiple error masterpiece, meaning it possesses not just one rare characteristic, but several stacked on top of each other, creating a perfect storm of numismatic rarity that may never be seen again in our lifetimes. First, the coin exhibits a major OFF center strike of approximately 60%, meaning more than half of the design is shifted dramatically off the planchet, leaving a huge crescent of blank metal visible and creating a visual impact that's absolutely jaw-dropping. When you see a coin struck this far off-center, it looks almost alien, like it came from a parallel universe where the mint didn't follow normal procedures. Second, the coin shows evidence of being struck on a wrong planchet, specifically a planchet intended for a silver dime, which means the metal composition is different from a normal nickel, which contains copper and nickel. And the weight is off, creating a coin that feels wrong when you hold it and rings differently when tapped, characteristics that add additional layers of rarity and desirability. Third, the die used to strike this coin had a massive die crack running from the rim through Jefferson's profile and across to the opposite rim, creating a raised line on the coin's surface that looks like a lightning bolt frozen in metal, and die cracks of this magnitude are typically caught and the die is retired. But somehow this one was used long enough to strike this particular coin before being taken out of service. Fourth, the coin exhibits full steps on Monticello with exceptional sharpness, which is remarkable considering it was struck off-center and on the wrong planchet, meaning the strike was powerful enough to bring up full detail despite the multiple errors occurring simultaneously, demonstrating that this wasn't a weak or incomplete strike, but rather a perfect error strike that captured every detail despite the chaos of its creation. Fifth, and perhaps most remarkably, this coin is graded MS 69, meaning it's essentially flawless, with virtually perfect surfaces, full original mint luster that blazes like fire under light. No contact marks, no spots, no discoloration, an eye appeal that makes it look like it was struck yesterday and immediately sealed in a protective holder, which is astounding considering it's over 85 years old and somehow survived decades without being damaged, spent, or lost. The provenance of this incredible coin reads like a fairy tale. According to the most reliable accounts, it was discovered in an original mint-sewn bag that had been sealed in 1940 and stored in a bank vault in rural Pennsylvania, forgotten for over 7 decades until the bank underwent renovations and the vault's contents were inventoried, at which point a sharp-eyed bank manager who happened to be a casual coin collector noticed the bag was labeled 1940 and decided to purchase it personally, for face value, taking it home and carefully opening it to reveal thousands of pristine 1940 nickels. And while sorting through them one by one, he suddenly stopped, his heart pounding, when he encountered this coin, this impossible error that made him question whether his eyes were playing tricks on him. He immediately recognized that what he was holding was something extraordinary, something that could change his life. And he carefully set it aside, spent the next week researching and consulting with trusted collector friends, and finally sent it to PCGS for authentication and grading, waiting nervously for 6 weeks until the package returned with the coin encapsulated in graded MS 69, along with a letter from the chief grader stating that in his 40-year career, he had never seen anything like it, and that the company wanted to discuss purchasing the coin directly or helping to arrange a private sale or major auction. The coin eventually went to auction through one of the premier numismatic houses, and the pre-auction publicity was unprecedented. Full-page ads in coin magazines, features in mainstream media, YouTube videos by every major coin channel, and whispers throughout the collector community that this was going to be the event, the auction that broke all records and established a new ceiling for what a Jefferson nickel could be worth. The auction itself was conducted in a packed room with overflow crowds watching on screens in adjacent halls, phone bidders from around the world, in an atmosphere of tension and excitement that veteran auction attendees said they'd never experienced before, not even at auctions of legendary gold coins or historic rarities. Bidding opened at $1 million and escalated rapidly, with increments of $500,000 or more as deep-pocketed collectors and investors competed furiously, driving the price past $10 million, past $20 million, past $30 million, past 40 million, and finally past 50 million before settling at $52 million when the hammer fell and the room erupted in applause, gasps, and shocked laughter because nobody could quite believe what they'd just witnessed. The winning bidder was later revealed to be a consortium of 3 collectors who had pooled resources to acquire the coin, planning to display it at major shows and exhibitions before eventually donating it to the Smithsonian Institution, where it could be preserved for future generations and studied by numismatic scholars trying to understand exactly how such a perfect error could have occurred. The $52 million price tag represents not just the coin's rarity, but its story, the narrative of discovery and authentication and auction drama that captured the imagination of collectors worldwide and proved that even in the digital age, physical artifacts can still command extraordinary values when they're truly unique and possess characteristics that can never be replicated. For you, the viewer watching this video right now, the message should be crystal clear. Jefferson Nickels matter. They're not just 5-cent pieces to be spent without thought. They're potential treasures that could be hiding in your change jar, your piggy bank, your car's cup holder, or that drawer where you dump your pocket contents every night. The 3 coins we've covered today represent a combined value of over $140 million. And while most Jefferson Nickels you encounter will be worth face value, the possibility exists that you could be the next person to discover a major error, a condition rarity, or a variety that experts didn't even know existed. And that discovery could literally change your life overnight. So here's what you need to do right now. Go through your coins, examine every single Jefferson nickel you can find. Look for offset or strikes, check for full steps on Monticello, search for double dies and die cracks. Weigh your coins to see if any feel too light or too heavy, indicating wrong planchets. And don't dismiss any coin just because it looks a little odd or different, because that oddness might be worth millions. Get yourself a magnifying loupe. Educate yourself about error types and grading standards. Join online coin forums where experts share knowledge and help identify varieties. And most importantly, never stop looking, because the treasure hunt never ends and the next great discovery could be made by you. These 1940, 1941, and 1954 Jefferson Nickels prove that fortune favors not just the bold but the observant. Those who pay attention to details that others overlook, those who take the time to examine their coins instead of just spending them mindlessly, and those who understand that sometimes the smallest things, a 5-cent nickel no bigger than your fingernail, can hold value beyond imagination and represent the difference between financial struggle and generational wealth. The era of treasure hunting isn't dead. It's alive and well in the world of coin collecting. And every time you receive change, every time you roll coins, every time you sort through an old collection, you're participating in a real-life treasure hunt where the prizes are genuine and the potential for discovery is real. So keep hunting, keep learning, keep examining those nickels. And who knows, maybe the next video we make will feature your discovery, your $50 million coin, your story of how a chance find changed everything. Thank you for watching Error Coins Hunter. And remember, fortune hides in the smallest places, so never stop searching because your treasure might be waiting in the very next coin you touch.